Now, when I first saw the Adventure Force Spectrum, I knew this is gonna be an iconic blaster. Many people refer to this thing as like, oh, this is gonna give the Strife a run for its money, and I think we're getting there. There's a lot of aftermarket parts for this thing. Not as much as the Strife, but still, it is a very good contender. Now, the price point of this thing and the availability is still really good. I went to my local Walmart and there's still like, I guess there's a red version now. So I actually picked one up for a future build. As time goes on, the Strife will become more and more obsolete because they're not in print anymore. So I hope Dart Zone continues with the Spectrum, or at least something very similar to it. So once again, in this video, we're gonna talk about this build right here. We're gonna talk about what's in it, what kind of performance we got. I'm gonna take this outside. We're gonna do some firing footage and get some chronograph readings. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So let me give a little background as to what happened with this blaster. Now, in the last video I did about it, I was pretty happy with, obviously the performance of it was really nice with this drop-in kit. Let me talk about what's in there. This is from, the cage is actually from a kit that Foam Pro Shop offers, in which it comes with some Twilight wheels. There's no motors included, so I ended up buying some motors from out of Darts, so I have Krakens in here, and this thing has been wired to 3S. Now, when I did this build, there was not enough aftermarket parts for me to really finish it. And what I'm talking about was inside here, where the battery is, there's a pusher mechanism for the trigger. And what was happening is, like, when I put my battery in there, I tried to position it to where it was not interfering, but that pusher was always getting kind of hung up in the wires. And then also we didn't have an expanded battery door at the time. So this product right here, there are two products going on right here from Foamdemic. One is the actual internal like shelf that holds the battery. It goes in and then allows for there to be a wall so the pusher doesn't interfere with your battery or cables. And then we have an actual battery door that expands out so you have room to put your battery. This right here was my biggest issue with this build before. And now that this part exists, I slapped those in there. It works like a dream. I love how it's all like contained in here and doesn't have any problems. I don't feel any of the wires dragging on the trigger when I pull the fire trigger. So really happy in that regard. And to really spicing it up and make this a full-on like carbine, or just like a full like primary worthy blaster for like an HVZ or something, we have a stock and a new elongated barrel with just a really nice tip. There's something about that tip, the way it flares out, the print quality is really nice, and the color of orange is actually really nice too. In addition, we have a ton of real estate as far as Picatinny, so you can mount all kinds of stuff on this thing. And one thing I wanted to get rid of was, I'm not a fan of the weird foregrip that they had before. So I found this part on Thingiverse. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description. And all of these parts, I'm gonna put links in the description if you have any questions. But this was actually on Thingiverse. And it just gives like a nice little area to put your hand in. It feels really comfortable. This stock still comes off, so this utilizes the old stock. It is adjustable, but once you put that screw in, it's not gonna move, which I prefer. You know, I like to get my stock positioned to how I like it and then screw it in place so I never gotta fumble around with it or deal with it. I mean, it's not great for when you hand it off to another person, but you know, the way I look at it, everyone should have their own personalized Nerf blaster, so that's fine for me. The actual buttstock of this is it tapers inward and has a nice little pad right here, and it actually fits perfectly in the wedge of your arm, and it feels really good and stable. So I'm a big fan of this design. Also, it comes with a little sling mount here, which I prefer to have my sling mounts up here. We already have one up here, so that's really cool. The way things balanced and I do a single point sling, like this is actually my preferred. This little mag release right here, I believe it's from Buff Daddy. He did some design work where he kind of blanked out these plates. I should probably put like a DrFlux or something in there, but we got two blank plates and then they basically changed this out too. So I think it looks really sharp. There's a lot of color breakup in this design, which I really appreciate. And I just think it turned out really good. So let's take a moment to talk about some of its performance. Now, I had OptiMan over and he fell in love with this thing. He knew about it from before, but he never really got to mess around with it. So I gave this to him, I threw him a couple mags, and I was like, hey, have fun. Let me know what you have to say about it. And he did some firing footage. We got some chronograph readings, which I'll display here. So pretty decent chronograph readings. We can actually drop that down a little bit if you throw this, throw a 2S in here. So that's nice if we want to get more down to, you know, like 100 FPS or so for more HVZ type of numbers. I think the numbers on this are a little bit lower than they were when the barrel was cut down from the Foam Pro Shop D-Res kit, which is fine. I mean, I didn't need this thing to be super spicy. This is more for close quarter combat or maybe HVZ type stuff, so I don't want it like really spicy. So while OptiMan was outside firing this thing, he just had a blast with it. It's such a good blaster. There's only one thing that we really want to do with this, and that is potentially bring this up to short darts. I did see on Thingiverse there is a short dart, I might even be a long dart and short dart hybrid type pusher, but I'm thinking about throwing that in here so that we can actually fire some talons or whatnot, because I think that would just make this thing one of my favorite primary blasters. I'm starting to really appreciate semi-auto. Full auto is really cool. It's obviously very flashy and people love seeing it, but when it really comes down to like a dependable primary sidearm or primary, I think I'm more in line with semi-auto, or at least for my primary. Maybe my secondary, I can whip out like a woozy or something, or a pew-pew, and just blah, and, you know, just kind of lay down suppressive fire. So I do appreciate, I guess, a good SMG type sidearm. So what are my overall impressions of this build? I am just a huge fan of it. I think, I don't think I'm done yet though, like I said, bringing this up to short dart, but it's been a long time coming. I really want to thank Foamdemic for sending these parts. This like really helped complete the build, and especially this stuff. Like this right here really pushed me to keep going with this build, because that was really, that was just kind of a wall I hit. Like I mentioned earlier, all links to all these items will be in the description if you would like to build something like this. And if you have access to a 3D printer, I'll put some of the files on Thingiverse up. But if you don't have access to a 3D printer, I'll also have links to Etsy stores, you know, Foamdemic, and then also I'll throw in Foam Pro Shop if you want to see the actual flywheels. These are Twilights, just so you know. So really good flywheels. Well, I'm DrFlux. I want to thank you for watching today's review of this kit, the Spectrum body kit slash, you know, upgrades. Let me know in the comments section if you approve of this. Is this something you would like to build in the future? I'm a big fan of it. Once again, as always, happy foam flinging.